Welcome to Wellness Radio with Dr. Jeanette Gallagher as your host. Her show discusses topics of health, wellness, and spirituality, and is about discovering your place in this great universe, from your cells to the cosmos. Along with her guest, in casual conversation, she strives to ask the difficult questions that may be holding you back from a vibrant life, and shares new ideas that may inspire you to make a change in your life that you only can see in your dreams. And now, here is Dr. Jeanette Gallagher.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wellness Radio. This is Dr. Jeanette Gallagher, and it's a pleasure to have you with us here this evening. Tonight, we are going to be talking about how do things come about? What is our path all about? What are the experiences we go through? How are the things manifested? What is abundance all about? How is joy, bliss, and the life that we choose that we really would like to see unfold? How do we get to this place? Many times people will say, but my life, it's almost like fate. It's already been written. It's a template. I just step through it, and I keep on going. Others say, it's been written for me. Don't you see? It's like this, and it's always about the past. They've always got a story about the past. But now in the year 2024, we look at it and we really say we are on the journey of the seeker. We've spoken about this for over a decade now on this radio show. And the way of the speaker is when we open the door to awareness, presence, possibility, living in the ethers, and exploring light and dark consciousness. Isn't that really what it's all about? As we would call it, the journey from substance to being as an energy source. And aren't we really ready for that? Because so many times people will say, it's really about being able to kind of perceptualize and say, this is what I would like. Why would I like it? Is it going to fill a hole in me? Is it going to fix me? Is it going to make things better? Perhaps what I'm really seeking is a life where you help people, you're compassionate and caring, and you bring joy. And just in receiving, you're able to continue to give. It's a lot of pay it forward these days in the ethers. If you're able to look out and see that the possibilities of the energy. Today, my guest is Christy Whitman. Her book is The Desire Factor, How to Embrace Your Materialistic Nature to Reclaim Your Full Spiritual Power. Christy, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you.
I'm so delighted. Thank you so much. And I love how that just started. And I want to just jump right into that conversation because, wow, you know, as you were describing that, knowing that there's a different choice. Wait, it doesn't have to be my story from the past. It doesn't have to be, okay, I have no power. It's already written for me. To be someone that is deliberate, it gets to be a deliberate creator and understands that we have free will and choice, and that free will and choice matched with, whether you want to call it fate, destiny, or, written in the stars, the Akashic records, however you want to look at that, when we can feel that, you know what, I get to make the choices, and the choices begin inside of me. The choices begin with the words that I use, the very thoughts that I entertain, the conversations I engage in, the images that I hold in my head, and, you know, the feelings I either process or stuff down, or, you know, and the actions I take. So it's fascinating that we're now having more and more of these conversations where energy really does matter.
I think also, too, that we've really come up to the concept over the past several years of life and death, of wellness, disease, of health and prosperity. And we're saying they're looking at the old definitions of the words. In other words, health and wellness, is it always that my body is great, like I've been 18 years old, regardless of what I've got going on in my physical being? Sometimes the essence is, yes, you may be at the end of your life. I work a lot with patients at end of life and with chronic disease. And the idea is that can you sit in the moment and just feel that you're something more than the pain? Can you sit in the moment and know that life has a transition door? Can you sit in the moment and know that this human body or this physical being is a vehicle that's carrying our soul and spirit? And yes, it does have a time where it will drift off, but you are still the same soul, spirit, energy. Those concepts are pretty much what people used to call New Age, 30 years ago, 3 decades ago. I mean, I'm almost 70 now. I can remember having these discussions, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's interesting. I just witnessed my father transition, and it was everything. It was a sacred journey. It was an honor. It was painful. It was, it was everything. And having those conversations with him, his personality was just so worried about what's going to happen. He was just very raised. He was, an altar boy. He was very, very raised in the Catholic Church. I'm not saying anything bad, anything wherever someone can feel connected, awesome. For me personally, I didn't. And what you're describing, 28 years ago, I found my soul. And it was like, whoa, that changed my life. For him, he thinks the soul's in the afterlife, or he thinks that, so as he was transitioning and in a lot of physical pain, he was just riddled with anxiety of, oh my God, what is it going to be like when I get on the other side? And would keep him up at night, right? And the communication on the other end is, wow, all the stuff I worried about, all the things that I was anxious about is like a party, it's like a welcoming. It's like the greatest, and that even comforts me. It's like, you know what? I have a choice in the now moment in my life, whether it's as a parent, as a partner with my husband, as a, business owner, and whatever I'm doing. I have a choice in, am I going to get upset about this, or am I going to find compassion that this is happening, or am I going to drop into, okay, let's move into what we do want to feel and what the soul of me is already feeling, not dipping into the fear and all that. However, the physical part of me has to be able to process that stuff. And that's where what I'm learning and I'm a student of, and I'm also, sharing through the wisdom of the council and coaching and that sort of thing, and through videos on YouTube and those type of things, is that we all have a choice to focus on the presence of our support team, and that is the energy. And as the council says, it's like everybody has a stadium of light. And, we are the one on that either that center stage or at that 50-yard line. We are the ones that all that support, all that light support, because we're on the leading edge. We're here, a soul in a physical body. But we could look around and go, God, there's so many of us here, and how am I special, and how am I enough, and why? And then we go to the compare, and that's how we get into that lower limited mind. But when we start to add, wait a minute, that not just the concept, there's a concept that I think a lot of people have been tuning into, which is fabulous, which is abundance. But it's another thing to be able to say, ooh, is that thought was based in lack, not abundance. And let me rephrase that, to change a thought, to change a word, to really bring it into your practical, embodiment, so you're living it. That's a whole different story and a whole different evolution.
I think also to the idea, Christy, is about saying, conversations when we start on this about the leap, from a human paradigm of the 9-to-5 job of, let's gather up all of our information so we'll have a great obituary and we will check it off, we had a great life, to the idea that we are an eternal soul and spirit, and really this is all the experiences that we're having right now. I think the idea is that if you can take the transition and the conversation first of life and death, of having, attaining, and loss, of being tethered to and cutting the cord, of releasing and having things come to you to become part of you, of ownership. When you can see all of those two sides of those different paradigms, and you say, oh, okay, I'm going to now, not going to live in what I call a linear life. We're just going left and right on the same paradigm. We are going to be able to go left or right on the paradigm and be able to experience it all. But then we're going to say, now I'm ready to go up. You go up
Yes.
a notch, and you exist from the up in the notch, what I call dancing in the ethers. You know, once you're dancing in the ethers, then you can see what's going back and forth. You can still understand it and experience some of it. However, you aren't locked into it as the badge that you wear in your wetsuit, as a transformation that comes through your filters, as that which sucks you down into the black hole, perhaps?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's beautifully said, because one of the things that, you know, when we accept something, when we know that we deny something, go, oh, no, I'm just going to be over here thinking positive. There's no thing, called death. Or when we embrace the fact that those that we care about, every single person that we know, as my grandfather used to say, none of us are getting out of this alive. Right? It's like, sorry to break your bubble, but all of us will be at some point not in existence in this physical form. Others will be here, will be back in non-physical. And to understand that that's that eternal, like you were talking about, but it's when we're in our physical body and having the physical experience, understanding that here in the third dimensional world, there's that polarity. So there is that life, there is that death, there is lack, there is abundance, but trying to resist what you don't want, instead embracing it and understanding, I obviously, grief is one thing. For example, it's a universal thing that every single human will experience on many levels, because it's not just we grieve, say our mom and dad, or we grieve not having a mom and dad, or we grieve being adopted, or we grieve that we had these type of parents. I mean, we're in grief of a lot of things, but it's understanding how to process our grief and how to process the energy with the grief, so that when the polarity of things, the contrast, the things that we don't want, that don't feel good, and we focus our attention on, like death or a transition or a closing of a relationship, whatever it may be, when we can let ourselves go right into our compassion, into like a neutrality. We don't have to be, super high, happy, and joyful. And we also, that energy of just being in despair, feel it, but then come back to a neutral place of compassion. And compassion is where we meet and blend as a physical being with our soul, and where we can feel soothed, where we can feel like a pause, where, a nice deep breath, and okay, I'm okay. In this moment right now, sky is blue, plants are everywhere, I'm breathing, there's something to eat, I have something to drink, I have shelter. Find your way back into what makes you feel safe and grounded into your physical human being. Because when we feel that, then it's like we're more, once our safety, we feel like we're safe, we're protected, we're provided for. Once we have that, then it's like we're more open. It's like a tree, right? The deeper the tree goes as far as its roots, going down deep and really being able to ground and connect, the higher and wider the branches in the tree can go. And it's both that freedom and that stability. It's both that polarity that even as a human being, there's a non-physical, physical. And when we can embrace all of that and understand and not try to avoid or deny, life is very different. It's just then you start going, okay, well, how do I get them through? How do I master my emotions through a grieving situation? How do I balance my mind so I'm not, being hijacked by anxiety or, something else? It's energy mastery. It's really processing our own personal energy. It all starts with us.
I think also, too, when you talk about alignment in your book, you just mentioned the word safety. And as I shared with you before the show about hurricanes in our area, we were not safe. People who come to me with a devastating disease, they are not safe. When we're going into an operating room, they're not safe. Because the safety word means a replication of the thoughts, feelings, and patterns I had in the past that gave me that safety. That's what safety is. safety, in essence, going forward, is just that I have the breath of life, and that's it. And that's truly when you transcend and you're able to be in that upper echelon, because the word safety really means, okay, someone's going to be around. I'm going to, just as you shared, I'm going to have water to drink. Things are going to be there. Things weren't there. Water wasn't there. People go into surgery. Their stomach isn't there when they come out. Or people have devastating consequences to different things, and their safety is gone. And the answer is then, what is safety? And just as I said, if you can just breathe in the air, then what are you doing? You're trusting your soul and spirit as an energy being to something more. So, a lot of times people will close their eyes and open their eyes, and the world will totally change. Some will just close their eyes and go to the next space and time. Some will close their eyes and open their eyes and say, oh my gosh, nothing's ever changed, and they're stuck in that past echelon. So what we're truly saying is, when you're in alignment, you're in the really energy force, and you're trusting just something that you really cannot conceptualize. You can't feel it, you can't touch it, you can't taste it, you can't put it out there, you can't buy it, you can't barter it, and you can't put it into yourself to make yourself whole. You just have to have that knowing that you're going to breathe, and that's all you're guaranteed. So I think sometimes if we understand that, what I always say is, everything else is lagniappe. Everything else is gift. Everything else is just a gift wrapped in a silver box. So whatever comes up for you next, I think, just as you share the steps in your book, all of these things are what's coming up next for you. They're all gifts. These are all gifts, lagniappe. They're silver box, purple bow with a little bell on top, and you just ring it, and you go to the next phase. Correct?
Absolutely. That's what the council says is that what we draw to ourselves, what might look like contrast, if you look at it as a gift, unwrap it, play with it, really sit with it, because it's our personal life experience that we have co-created to learn something, to grow, to expand, to understand, to get more clarity, to be able to pivot and have that personal power to do that. But compassion, and I just want to address this too, because you're right. And, I just want to say, for those of you that don't know me, I wasn't born with a silver spoon. It hasn't been all, I had a very challenging upbringing like most, but I will say that as an adult, I have applied and worked through and really elevating, using even the contrasting experiences, such as the suicide of my sister, and really letting that experience deepen me and opening up as, a person, a woman having a spiritual experience, and being able to then connect with her on the other end, and then opening up to going through a divorce and, being asked to resign or let go from a company, being hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I mean, seeing my 2-month-old son barely alive, needing open heart surgery, and surviving that whole thing. 2 other things, right? Every time when we look at, when you can sit in just the energy of our soul's presence, not making this bad, not making this good, it's letting the mind, it's like you were saying, this is beyond the mind. And letting it, it's not, we have 4, like council says, we have 4 bodies. We have our mind, our mental body, we have our emotional body, we have our actual physical body, and then we have our energy body, our soul body. And when one is super out of balance, like, spinning in the mind, and oh my God, the sky is falling, and, just full of anxiety, that throws everything else out of balance. I mean, we know this from research that, the mind and the emotions affect the body and create the diseases. I'll share this. It was really interesting, and sometimes I kind of giggle because of the timing of things, so it's perfect to share this. On Sunday night, it was really weird. We were just hanging out, and I stood up, and my right foot was all swollen, and it was pulsating, and it was in pain to walk on. And I was, what in the heck is going on? So first thing I did is I went to the energy body, and I just started feeling the energy underneath and letting the energy go. And as I was just letting the energy go, then it was like, okay, what emotion is tied to this, if any? There could be none, but usually it has a contributing factor to this. Mm-hmm. So I went into my belly, into my emotional body, and just felt whatever needed to drain out, whatever was on the masculine side, or maybe it was someone I'm thinking about on a mental level. So I let myself just kind of look through, okay, the mind, the emotions, and let my body physically, drain it out. And got up, it felt better, the swelling went down, but it still was off. And I'm like, God, it feels like, so I checked in with the council, and I said, what else do I need to do? And they said, go get reflexology. So I did, perfect timing. She had a slot, the only time I was available, got my reflexology done. By the time I left there, my foot was like brand new. And it doesn't even have any pain or tension now today. So I say this because there could have been a very different way of looking at that. Oh, no, what's wrong with my foot? And then the story becomes, oh, no, I'm getting old, or, I did, you know what I mean? That whole track of, instead of going to the cause, we go to the effect, and then the effect becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's a very, like you said, it's a very, very different way of living life.
Don't you think, though, also, too, Christy, that it's about the idea of, if we look at the past several decades, actually the century, I was born in the 50s, life then was really about cause and effect. Everything was about cause and effect. The jobs were cause and effect. So they were building machines. They were making steel to build buildings, They were making machines to be able to make this, that, or the other. That's the way people were at that time. So if you really look at it, the 80s was totally different. It was all about, we're becoming a little bit smarter. You mean we can go to college now? 50s and 60s, most people didn't even finish grade school. If you look at the 90s, it was all about perfection. That's when plastic surgery came around, And then you look at the 2000s, and then everything started to go up and down. Things would peak, things would bottom out. Yeah. Things would peak, and then things would bottom out. Now we look at where we are now. And we are saying, can you reflect back on perhaps the last 100 years how people have evolved? Just as you shared about an elder, passing on, they were entrenched in that because that's how they grew up. We have to honor that and respect that, where people are and what were their values. And we can't pretty much say, everybody have to take this leap to be where you and I might be speaking about today. No, in essence, what it is, it's more like a tapestry. If you let's look back at the 50s for a second. Most people died before they were 65. So, and now people are living till they were 100. So there's a lot more people on the earth. So there's a greater tapestry with a lot of different colors and a lot of different pieces. And everybody's in a different piece. So what you share in your book and what we're talking about today is, how can we become that piece? But how can also, too, we learn how to transform. We learn how to shapeshift. We learn how to be able to engage differently. We learn how to change our colors. So we become a coat of many colors. We become someone who is a little bit lighter. Perhaps we become someone who says, I'm all about mystery, excitement, and curiosity. Maybe those are the things that drive us to a joyful life. I'm curious. If I'm going to go fall off the end and get hurt, I'm going to go fall off the end and get hurt. I haven't been hurt. I don't know what pain feels like. I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what loss feels like. I don't know what these feel like. So in essence, is not the soul seeker journey for all emotions, all experiences, and for all decades of life, perhaps?
And yeah, absolutely. and it's all personal to each of us individually. It's just, it is so brilliant. And so it's like you're saying, that tapestry, that string, that, that note that each of us play, we have that choice. Do I want to play a positive note, or do I want to play a negative note? Do I want to, create a brighter picture, a darker picture? And in the bigger scheme, it really, and some people would argue with me, but in the end, it really doesn't matter, because it's just an experience. It's it's a version of the divine having this experience. And so, but we get that free will. We have that choice to say, well, what kind of effect do I want to have, not only in my own life, but those around me, and what do I want to leave, whether it's a legacy or, the positive wave behind me, like you're saying, in service, to be in a place of, I want to serve, that feeling of maybe we're not saying safety, but that feeling of I'm okay. I'm secure, and feeling like if I'm not in this moment, I have support that I can call in and utilize and connect with. And I think everybody everybody at any aspect or any place that you are in life, or whatever your outer experiences are, and your situations and your circumstances, every single person can use more compassion. And yes, for others, but we can't give away what we don't have for ourselves. So feeling self-compassion, not oh, poor me, that's not self-compassion. Self-compassion it's soothing. I'm okay. There's many ways. It can be a feeling of energy. It can be literally our somatic physical touch on our skin. It could be, some people might want an arm rug or a hug. We can give ourselves that physical hug, or play with our hair, or, whatever it is. And you kind of feel, is it rubbing your leg? Is it tapping on yourself? However you can feel that physical feeling of calm, of I'm okay, and that energetic hug, that, feeling your way into, my soul's got me, like that energetic bubble. And when we feel we're okay, I'm all right, then we can offer that to others. And then that thread becomes a very different mandala. It just becomes more light-filled.
Right.
And
I think also, too, in your book, Christy, you talk about surrender and action. When I was thinking about it, I can distinctly remember a patient had come to me, and they were so panicked. I'd been to all these doctors, you're my last resort, and this is what my disease is. And I said, oh, I'm so excited. I'm so glad you're here. This is great. This is fabulous. They looked at me like I had 10 million heads.
I bet.
Like, what are you talking about? And I said, because everything that you've done in life has brought you here. Everything you've done in life has brought you here to find an answer. And now here we are. So here's the question. What would you like to do today? And if you just ask them that one question, you just stop and you listen, they will go through a whole paradigm for maybe hours on end. Sometimes some patients, it could take them days. And you sit and you listen, and eventually they're going to come to the one point that is going to be, I just want to feel love. That's it. There's nothing else. I just want to know that I'm cared for. They just want to know that I'm loved, cared for, and I'm seen, and I'm heard. In other words, was my presence on this earth validated before I leave? Yeah. Isn't that what an obituary is all about? It used to be, hey, they were here before, and now they're not here, and maybe they'll come back again. I see ghosts and angels all the time and speak to the dead, so, hey, I know where they were. So, I know you were here before, and you're here again now. So the idea is that, can we be open and free enough to see that some of the story that human dogma has put on our existence, we might be able to start releasing?
Absolutely. Because really, when we focus on something different, when we have a change of perspective, that creates our reality here. And that, taking the bbest of, like you're saying, my father passing. He was almost 20 days away from 92, right? I feel him with me. He's all around me. I feel my sister. The minute, that happened and I couldn't call forth, that feeling of I am loved. However, back then, before I started doing this work and meditating and really being a student of this, which now I share, is that I am more than just this physical body, and so are they.
Right.
And so,
right.
But I couldn't get to that feeling of I'm loved. It was way too uncomfortable. So going into that place of compassion allows me, when I was in grieving of my dad, when, going through what does it all matter? What's life about? Because it was part of the grieving process for me. I got through that part very quickly and feel back and grounded and, still grieving. It was just a couple of months ago. However, the feeling of compassion stays with me, so I don't feel like I'm missing something. And at the same time, compassion is that doorway to that higher vibration, that higher allowance of love. And that's where it's like you're saying, it's like, if we can just stay in compassion, of course we're going to, have human emotions. We process them, we manage them, we get our mind back in balance and, find our alignment. However, we're always creating a future, and we're always creating that future by how we connect in the energy now and right here, right now. No other moment, not the one that just passed or the one that's going to happen, but this now moment is where all of the energy of the entire universe, like you were saying, it's always available. It's you don't have to go buy it. It's now. It's infinite. It's more than we can even fill up with in this now moment. Just that energy of whether it's compassion or love, support, whatever it is, joy, whatever someone wants to feel and connect with. Everybody has that different, I want this because of that and this and that. But you're right. If you go to the really just the grounded reason, it's because we all want to feel love. If that's available and that energy is here now, couldn't we all then connect with, I already am love. Right. I am love and I am loved, and bring that energy in and connect with that and make that what is uncomfortable become comfortable in the sense that it's new, but it feels good. And the more we allow it, the more we feel good without having to change conditions and circumstances and anything else. Right? Right.
What about the idea, Christy, of having things, material things? Many times people will say, but I need that because. And I think that whole sentence right there, I don't know, I have this list of kick it to the curb words, and kind of that whole sentence is one of them, because the need means that you lack or there's something broken and you need something to be able to fill or fix. And again, many times, when people say, but I need this, like, okay, right now I'm on the quest for a vehicle because our vehicle is getting older and it's time to transition and move to the next one. But others would say, I have to have a car. It has to be brand new. It has to have this. It has to have that. And it has to show up today. And they make those kind of quests and requests of the ethers out there, and they're expecting it to show up just as they describe it. I can distinctly remember, before I had come back to this area that I'm in right now. And I remember saying that I wanted a man that would come home every day, and he'd be home there every day. Because in the past, I had others that didn't, And I got exactly what I wanted. I got a man who comes home every single day. The difference is that I probably should have asked for 2 or 3 more things with it, because I would have liked to have a little bit more, but I kind of was really focused on that at the time. And then I led, myself through this process of frustration. Well, I really would have liked to have this, and why can't you have that, and blah, 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 blah. And finally it just came to the end. It just says none of that was important. 0. All that mattered that I had someone in presence to have a companion with. That was it. And that you could just love in the moment. And when I came to that point, it was like all of that other stuff fell away because it wasn't important. You know, when people put these pros and cons and their checklists and all this other stuff, and you're going, okay, whatever, you know, and it really leaves a dichotomy and a separation of the energy, the human, the soul, the spirit, and the physical beings. You end up with all of these little camps kind of like vying for you or against you, and you're really getting nowhere. All you're doing is just creating chaos, perhaps.
You know, yes, and it's both and, because it's interesting because earlier in my, manifestation days, if you want to call it that, and it was powerful. I was married before, and I had a realization. I was just, nope, I'm married for better, for worse. This is a lifetime thing. I made an oath. He made an oath. My parents have been unhappily married. They've been married for, when my dad passed, it was 67 years. But I had a coach at the time, and she said, what about your marriage or your relationship? And I didn't want to look at it. And when I actually sat with it, it was a feeling of and it's going to sound funny, but it was awareness of he's a duck, and ducks are great, but I want a dog. And I can't make a duck into a dog, right? So that kind of listing of, well, wait a minute, like, what are the qualities that I really, really want? And, like, what are the qualities I really appreciate either in him or other partners, or, what would be ideal? And having that clarity of, they have compassion, they love dogs, they have a warm heart, they, are into taking care of their health and well-being, they believe in law of attraction. I mean, these are some of my listing. They have family values. They want to have children, because my first husband, who I thought I was walking down a path of having kids with after we got married, decided he didn't want to have any more kids because he had one. And then that just like my sails, because I wanted children. So all of this is what I do want now in this moment. And I didn't want a duck. I wanted a dog, kind of thing. But I stayed in it, and I kept looking for the positive aspects and, appreciating the duck, until one day it was just one of those things that, it's a story, but we had miscommunication, and he wouldn't talk to me for a couple of days. So I walked up to him. I'll never forget. It was a Sunday evening, and I said, listen, this is not working. And I didn't mean our marriage. I meant living together and not talking. I was trying to do an olive branch. And he goes, fine. And he took his ring and he threw it at me, and he said, I'll divorce you. And right when he said that, I was like, ding, okay. Right. And that led to literally, I have my dog now, he's a wonderful man, but that, I have those qualities in him. And like you, it's funny too, I want someone to be home and, that I can have lunch with in the middle of the day. And he's home all the time. Sometimes I'm like, could you leave? could you go take the kids to go somewhere so I could be in the house by myself for a little bit? But yeah, it's what qualities do I know about myself that I like about myself that I also want in another person. And then it's beyond that, because in a marriage, we've been together 18 years now, but in this marriage, of course, neither one of us are perfect, and we have things that are our limitations. And so I like to say it's kind of like, look at the whole person, not just the, just the limited parts of them or what you don't like. And it's kind of like if you're into fashion, like I love fashion, if you look at the whole ensemble, right? You go from the shoes all the way up and then back down, and you look at the fashion, look at the model in the magazine or on the runway or whatever it is. You look at the whole picture. So it's like the shoes are kind of representing the lower self, not necessarily bad, but the lower self. And then it goes higher and higher and higher, which includes our higher mind and our soul and our divine self and, that infinite pure potentiality of who we are. So what you're saying is both and, it's appreciating and really getting to deliberately decide, I appreciate generosity. when I got clear about that, you know what? One thing I appreciate about myself, and this it used to come back at me as, what's wrong with you? Why are you giving me so much? Like, and it was like, something's wrong with me because I'm so generous. When I accepted I'm a generous person, then other people started appreciating the fact of my generosity. And then I started attracting more people that are generous like I am. And, it's like I appreciate them and they appreciate me. So it's a whole energetic feeling, which is a vibration that's out in the ether's energy, that we have access to. So, yeah, both.
Yeah, it's really interesting, too, what you shared and your story and mine, because really when I say about someone being home, that brings us back to what I was saying before about being validated. In other words, you're seen. By someone being home, it's the idea that they show up. And isn't that what we're really saying in your entire book is, how are you going to show up in life? Let me know what your bells and whistles look like. Let me know how your lights turn on and off. Let me know perhaps maybe how you'd like to shape-shift in the world. How would you just like to show up? And it's not about I need to have this degree and that degree and this amount of money and that kind of clothes and this is the way I like to have my table set for dinner kind of idea. It's how would you like to show up? Would you like to be loved? Yeah. Would you like to be cared for? Would you like to love? And would you like to care for others? Can you have compassion and empathy? And are you available? That's it. I think those two things is really the gist of the entire story of our existence in this world. Just we make it into such a dramatic black hole, perhaps.
Yes, absolutely. And though, while we're here, like you were saying, I need a new car, not need, I want, the cart. So, and that's a whole thing too. When we're coming, our desires come from need. I need something from lack. Then, like you're saying, there's a hole that I need to be filled. I'm not enough, so therefore I need to either go get a handbag or a better car, or a better looking husband, or, whatever that may be. Right. And that's where it becomes a material, well, that guy didn't do it. Now I'm on to my sixth husband, or, that handbag wasn't big enough and now I've got 20 handbags that I don't wear. There's all of that. And then there's the place within of I myself have the opening to go, okay, this is a wound. This is a place where I'm not feeling good. And therefore, what is it that I'm wanting? Like on a just practical level, what is it that I really would want? Like you're saying, what is it I want? Why do I want that? And how do I want to feel? Is it loved? Oh, well, maybe someone's not there yet, but they want to feel at peace. They just want to feel okay. They want to feel settled, right? It's right. Where we are, and then to be able to master that. But it is that feeling of the material has to fulfill me, or the next best . If it's coming from that place, yeah, we can use the material realm try to go from the outside in. And just like the Disney movie that just came out, Inside Out 2, really it's exactly what you're saying. It's that sense of self. It's that sense of belonging. It's that sense of connection to something so much bigger. And then we're in a material world, so go drive the car that you want to drive and that pleases you. Dress with the clothes that you want to dress with, Shape your body the way and do the things that you want to do to move your body and sculpt your body and, in a sense, body build, not like body build, but, build your body. Build your mind, build your emotion. This is your life experience. So it's like take the classes, read the books. The books are material. They have a lot of value. So we get to play in the material world and call those experiences to us, but we're not attached in that way. We're more connected to the non-physical. But again, it can be both and. I feel like the divine created all of this, like this whole experience, and we are all creators with the divine. It is being created, so it wasn't created, it's being created. We're continuing to create it, and like we talked about before. How are we wanting to create this part of our own unique tapestry? And
yes.
when you feel that sense of like what you're saying, that soul connection, that, I'm okay, and I am loved, and you know what? I am being, whether we call it God, universe, Sally Sue, I am being provided for. That feeling of provision, you have what you need. That can only come from the inside out, not from the outside in.
Yes, absolutely. In closing, Christy, I wanted to touch on this also, too, is that the idea that if you are in a place where you have a lot of devastation, your body might not be working correctly, you've had a lot of mishaps in life, I would say that's absolutely awesome. Again, with that same answer, it's awesome, because you may be showing someone else in your family how to move forward, how to change or shift. Just as a disease or a complication in life teaches our doctors how to become who they are, to be able to have more expansive ideas what an operation might be or more drugs that might come out. Just as we see when bullies are out there, they show us how to recognize the habits and the behaviors that we are unaccepting and say, I would like to be different. So it actually bounces back and reflects in us a change in us, and we become better and different and more compassionate, and then we can assist others. So there are purposes and reasons for light and dark, for harsh and difficult, for the paradigm of the left or right, as we go along this horizontal kind of human existence. Everything has its place. I think just the idea to say, okay, I'm here. Isn't that awesome? Just as I said, when you have that diagnosis or that disease, I'm here. Isn't that awesome? I collected all of these things now. I'll never forget, I went to the doctor, and I had all of these symptoms. It's been like, a couple of years I've been doing this and blah, blah, blah. And finally, when I went to this one doctor, he said something to me, and I was reporting about an adverse reaction to a medication. And he says, well, I never heard that one before. I've heard all the other reactions, but I've never heard of that before. I said, because I'm a zebra. He says, no, you're not. You're a horse. In the medical community, every time the doctor sees you in the hospital or their office, everybody is what we call a horse, because you always look for the things that are common. If you have a runny nose, you've got a cold. If your throat hurts, you've got a sore throat. If your heart's beating wrong, you've got a heart issue. Those are horses. Where things is a zebra is, if you've got a runny nose, there must be something perforated in your brain, and it's leaking through into your nose. That's a zebra. And I said to him, I was a zebra. And he said, no, you're not. I was a horse. And that was the day that I said my uniqueness needed to be taken somewhere else. So I think really what your book is really good about is saying, take your uniqueness, expand your journey, and find what delights you every day to assist your own light to get bigger and to help others with their life. It's as simple as that. Don't you think?
You really did a great, I'm going to take that separate. That's exactly it. It's exactly it, because we have that choice. We have that power. Nobody else can make that choice for us. Like you said, today, this moment, this is all I need to focus on, is bringing my choicefulness to what pleases me, what feels good, what do I want to do, and I get some people don't have the luxury, they still have to do something, but if you change the perspective of the things that you have to do, then the perspective about it changes, and then it's not a have to, and that thing usually either goes away or something changes. I've seen that over and over in my 23 plus years of coaching, where someone shifts something, and the boss, like you're saying, the boss that bullies him gets promoted, or gets over to a different territory, or whatever it is. The person moves, the neighbor sells their house. The contrast, what you were describing, that we always will have contrast. And contrast, how boring would it be, like, if everything was green and we didn't have any other color? So
right.
The varieties of colors and the varieties of flowers and the varieties of trees and animals, and just all of that, when we push against. I always like to say it's kind of like going to a big buffet, and I personally do not like curry, and I don't like the smell of it when it's cooking. But just because it's on the buffet, it doesn't mean like I'm like, now I can't eat because there's curry, right? And people do that a lot. It's like, this thing, this person, this problem, and then they miss the rest of it. And so it's like, stop focusing on what you don't want, focus on what you do, and, enjoy, gobble up that. And because it's one of those things we were talking about. It's like if you embrace the fact that there is death, there's life, and there's death, and you embrace the fact that there is always going to be transition from this moment to this moment. There's always going to be contrast, things that we like, things that we don't. I mean, night, day is contrast. Is night bad, day is good? I mean, when you stop projecting an opinion and just make what is, we don't get mad at the moon because it's out. It's like, okay, it's now nighttime. That level of surrender, that level of compassion for what I don't like and focus on what I do like, that helps us take a different type of action. And what action we take leads to the results that we have in our lives.
Yes, absolutely. Christy, I always said the yin and the yang symbol in Chinese medicine is not supposed to be gray, But what I do is I put a pin in. I'll do the thing on a piece of paper and put a straight pin in the middle of it and spin it around and say, I have transcended the black and the white. And you just watch it spin, and it's just so cool. So I think the idea is that it's just about how you choose to live your life, Christy, and I think your book, The Desire Factor, does that.
Thank you so much.
Christy, can you share with the listeners how to find out more information about your work?
Absolutely. What I would recommend, because, I do a lot of interviews, and I've had people throughout the years say to me, okay, this is like, you're talking about managing the mind and, mastering your emotions, and you're talking about universal laws. Like, how do you make this practical? If someone really wanted to practically do this today, change their life, what would be their first step? And I say we have to watch our words, because our words are, it says in the Bible, in the beginning there was the Word. I mean, the Word it sparks everything. So watching your words is essential. So I actually developed a program that when you go to watchyourwords.com, it's a free program. It's a video every day, and you get, like 5 or 6 minutes, and it tells you what not to say, why, and what to say instead, and take you through a little bit of an exercise and those kind of things. But they're just a couple of minutes a day will really help you start to practically, okay, today is should. I'm going to catch myself say should, and I'm going to see how I feel, right? That's one of the words. And instead of should, say, what do I prefer? What do I want to do? And instead of feeling boxed in and limited, let yourself feel that expansion of giving yourself, what's my choices? What's my options? So if I have to do laundry today, do I have to do it right now when I don't want to, or can I do it later? Maybe can I do it tomorrow? Giving yourself choices and options, that gets us out of the limitations. So you can go to watchyourwords.com. Also ChristyWhitman.com always has different events and things like different meditation months and different what we call quantum light shifts, which are energy healings, where we get together as a community. So lots of stuff you can peek around at.
Very good. Well, Christy, it was such a pleasure to have you with us here today. I think sometimes people will say, I just need to hear it differently. Perhaps maybe just tell me in some different words, or maybe I'll just feel some other energy just by even being present in the talk today. So I think we both accomplished that, and I thank you so much for joining us in the ethers.
Thank you so much.
If you'd like to find out more information about Christy Whitman, again, the book is The Desire Factor, How to Embrace Your Materialistic Nature to Reclaim Your Full Spiritual Power. Please do click on the link on the bottom of today's show page to go directly to her website for more information. And it is about being able to say, stop, just take a breath, just breathe it in. And if you can just do that for 1 or 2 seconds every day and kind of start to expand that, then you'll start to say, oh, I don't need that. I don't have to have that. Perhaps maybe think I'm going to do something differently. You are now becoming in awareness. You're allowing the abundance or the possibility to come to you. And perhaps you're saying, I can just breathe. And isn't that something? Take that monkey off your back Give yourself a moment. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Dr. Jeanette Gallagher. Until tomorrow, have a great day.
Today we discussed many life-changing concepts. Who do you turn to, and how do you know what is best when faced with a health crisis? Dr. Jeanette is a patient advocate. She listens to the patient, the doctors, and the family, clarifies the health issues and concerns, then helps the patient make the best choices going forward. If you would like help implementing change into your life and health, we can talk and see where you are stuck and how to improve the quality of your life. Check the link on the bottom of today's show page or visit drjeanettegallagher.com to schedule a phone appointment today.